This is Standing Watch. And now, Evangelist Norbert Link.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to our Standing Watch program. Donald Trump has been in China for 2 days, he's back now. But what a debacle it has been. An absolute, utter, complete, total disaster. Commentators have said that at least two major issues were not addressed or agreed upon, but as I will show you, more than just two issues are at stake and have been at stake. I'd like to begin with Taiwan. Politico wrote on May 15. President Donald Trump returns from his 2-day summit with Chinese leader Xi Jinping with hints of deals, but no progress on key issues that vex the US-China relationship. Trump told reporters he was willing to reconsider US arms sales to the self-governing island, a key long-time demand of Beijing, despite long-standing US commitments to provide defensive weaponry to deter potential Chinese aggression. Whether Trump would revisit arms sales to Taiwan remains uncertain, but he was clear that he does not feel bound by a 1982 pledge by former President Ronald Reagan to the island that it would not consult with Beijing on weapon sales to Taiwan. So Trump's position, whatever it is, looks very troublesome. And the following articles, which I'm going to read to you now, makes that very clear. Daily Mail wrote on May 16. Donald Trump has warned Taiwan not to declare independence from China following the 2-day summit in Beijing last week. However, just hours after Mr. Trump's warning, the island declared itself independent. Under US law, America is required to provide weapons to Taiwan for its defense, but it has been ambiguous on whether US forces would come to the island's aid in the event of Chinese annexation. Now on Sunday, Taiwan's president said this: Taiwan will not under pressure give up national sovereignty and dignity or its democratic and free way of life. So even though the law requires that Trump provides weapons to Taiwan, it is far from certain that he will do so, especially in light of the following article by Mediaite, dated May 16. President Donald Trump went on a rant against Taiwan, telling Fox News anchor Bret Baier that they stole our chip industry as he was pressed about his private remarks to China's President Xi Jinping. In one exchange, Baier pressed Trump about whether he will approve a pending arms sales to Taiwan. He asked Trump, should the people of Taiwan feel more or less secure after your meeting with President Xi? Trump insisted they should feel neutral, but then went on a riff about Taiwan's history of stealing our chip industry. Now, Trump's refusal to answer Baier's question is telling. His attack on Taiwan in this regard is deeply disturbing because it may be used as a justification as to why he is not going to send weapons to Taiwan. He has said in the past that China will not invade Taiwan while he is president. That is more than uncertain now. The other issue was, of course, Iran. The Ron Paul Institute wrote on May 16, the Beijing circus is over, and Donald Trump's talk with Xi Jinping produced nothing more than some pleasing photo ops and some performative diplomacy with no substantive accomplishments. The Chinese readout said that the two sides discussed the Middle East conflict without offering any further details. No mention of the Strait, no mention of tolls, no mention of Iran's nuclear program, no acknowledgement of any agreed position or any of those issues. The White House is asserting that China agreed Iran can never have a nuclear weapon and opposed Iran's toll regime. However, it was reported that Xi firmly rejected Trump's request that China apply pressure on Iran and help open the Strait of Hormuz. China apparently is not willing at all to help America on the Iran question, and that is very clear because both Iran and China are working together. Newsmax wrote on May 17, Iran allowed approximately 30 ships, including several Chinese-linked vessels, to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian officials said the transits were conducted in close coordination with China. State-affiliated Tasnim news agency reported that the arrangement reflected the strategic partnership between these two countries. And then Newsmax wrote, by no means a democratic paper, by no means a paper which is against Trump, but even they wrote, analysts say the situation represents a major strategic victory for Tehran. And then we have another article by Fox News, also a Trump-friendly outlet, dated May 17. America and China are increasingly operating within conditions resembling a new Cold War. Americans should resist interpreting the summit's warm optics as evidence the rivalry is fading. The new Cold War is already here. The summit proved it. And the summit proved something else. Xi was the winner, Trump was the loser. Exactly the same when Trump invited Putin to Alaska. Putin came out of this like a smelling rose, or smelling like a rose, and Trump lost everything in that quote-unquote summit. But there's more. Here's an article by Express, headline, Pentagon in panic as Trump's visit to China backfires. This article was written on May 16, and it says the following. Donald Trump's China visit failed to deliver a breakthrough on one of the most critical parts of the US-China trade war, Beijing's restrictions on rare earth exports, vital to America's military industry. The Pentagon is in absolute panic. China has officially cut off all rare earth exports to the US military. Washington's disastrous tech war completely backfired. Rare earth materials are essential for advanced US weapons systems, semiconductors, fighter jets, submarines, missiles, radar systems, precision-guided weapons. A recent Pentagon briefing warned that securing rare earth elements is now a national security imperative, highlighting growing concerns over America's reliance on Chinese-controlled supply chains. The ongoing restrictions have already caused shortages across parts of the US aerospace and semiconductor industries, with some critical materials remaining in limited supply. So, looking at the results of the summit so far, we can say that it does not appear that America can win anymore on any major issue. Now, you have heard that it was said Americans will be tired of winning. No, they will be tired of losing. But let's talk about Iran for a few more minutes. And let's talk about Trump's alleged plan to attack Iran yesterday. The Iran Poll Institute wrote on May 20, since February 28, 2026, Donald Trump has released 11 statements suggesting the war with Iran was over or that a negotiated deal is close, only it turns out to be a hoax. In his latest action, Trump spent the weekend posting images suggesting an attack on Iran was imminent, only to do another of his chaotic reversals. I have been asked by the Emir of Qatar, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and the President of the United Arab Emirates to hold off on our planned military attack of the Islamic Republic of Iran, which was scheduled for tomorrow, Tuesday. Trump wrote this Monday, in that a deal will be made which will be very acceptable to the United States of America as well as to all countries in the Middle East and beyond. This deal will include, importantly, no nuclear weapons for Iran. Now, if you believe that, you might as well believe in Santa Claus. You might as well believe in the moon being made out of green cheese. No way is this quote-unquote deal going to be made. Now, also, this attack was allegedly planned in secret. Nobody was supposed to know anything about it. So how then did the Arab Gulf nations know about it? Also, a meeting with Trump's military advisors was planned for that Tuesday, where allegedly an attack was planned. And now Trump said he's going to delay the attack for a few days, or maybe a week, or maybe a little bit longer, until a deal is reached. Iran wasn't impressed. On May 20, Newsmax published the following article, originally written by AFP, saying, Iran warned on Wednesday that the Middle East war would spread far beyond the region, talking about the Middle East, if the United States and Israel resumed their attacks, after Donald Trump threatened to strike again unless a deal is reached. The future of the waterway is a key sticking point in negotiations, but without a deal, fears are growing for the global economy as, listen carefully, pre-war stockpiles of oil are used up. They're gone. And then, Times of India wrote on May 16, a major controversy is erupting after reports claimed that Iran's parliament is reviewing a bill that would reward anyone who assassinates US President Donald Trump, according to Iranian lawmaker Ibrahim Azizi. The proposed legislation would require the Iranian government to pay 50 million euros to any individual or organization carrying out what was described as a religious and ideological mission. It doesn't sound to me that a deal is anywhere near. Does it sound to you that way? We are hearing a lot from the Pentagon, from Donald Trump, from the White House. A lot of war propaganda. A war of ideas and concepts. A lot of America is winning this war, Iran is pretty much destroyed. The facts don't support that. Will the American people wake up ultimately to see how they are being deceived in all of this? I encourage you to subscribe to our free weekly update. You can subscribe to it via email because, you see, this update has a lot insofar as current world news is concerned, which you probably are not going to be hearing a lot about in the United States of America. It also has a Bible study in there. It also has an editorial report about the work we are doing. So please, ask for a free copy. And thank you very much for listening. This is Norbert Link for the Standing Watch program.
Standing Watch is a presentation by the Church of the Eternal God, P.O. Box 270519, San Diego, California 92198. More information is also available at our website, eternalgod.org.